Peace, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Artis. Thank you again for joining my podcast. And I have a special guest here, my friend Stacey. And Stacey, say hi.
Hi. Hi.
Stacey is my special guest today. She's also a medium, a coach, a spiritual teacher, everything. She has a lot of information. She does a lot of stuff for her Instagram and everything she posts every single day. It's very inspiring, helpful, and I think you guys will enjoy this episode. So, Stacey, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know I just said that you're a medium and you're also a coach and stuff like that, but can you go ahead and get a little deeper in of who you are and what you kind of do?
Yeah, sure. Of course. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me out.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. So I've been a clairvoyant and a medium for over 30 years. And technically a coach when it comes to guiding people through any emotional or mental or spiritual trauma that they may be experiencing due to a loved one. It could be, work related. I've been self-employed, again, doing this for over 30 years from my home, which is awesome. And I have clients all over the world, which is so great because we've got all these amazing ways of reaching people outside of our own communities. And it's been an awesome journey when it comes to being able to assist people from all different walks of life. And no two people are the same. They don't have two experiences. And again, talking to loved one past as well. So there is. It's been an amazing journey, and I've been able to reach out and meet a lot of really awesome people, and I just love it. I just love it, like you.
That's awesome. So you've been doing it for over 30 years now. You think you said, and so what was the time when you started your journey doing this? Like, when was that? And when did you say, I think I'm a medium? Like, I knew I was a medium, or did you? Because everybody could be a medium. This is all about if you want to take the time to study it, so everybody can be that, right? So when was that time for you?
That's a really good question. So I think for me, I started noticing aspects of being empathic from the time that I was really little, about 7 or 8. And, I used to see people in my room that I knew were passed on. I just didn't know how to identify that and to help them. And then probably around 15, and kind of like it was floating in and out, and people would think things or feel things, and I would just know whether they were lying or truthful. And to me, it was very normal. For me, it was like brushing your teeth. You just do it every day. You just know it, you experience it. So it was my reality to have these experiences all the time. Some of those moments being really hard to detect whether those were my feelings and my, things that I like. It was really hard to recognize, oh, okay, why am I seeing these people and why are they here? And they would ask me, sometimes to help them. And I was like, oh, I don't know how. And then it kind of faded for a little bit until I was about between 14 and 16. And then I started to talk to friends about it, and they were like, no, this doesn't happen to me. And they were kind of all spooked out and telling me that I was, involved in hocus pocus, which was really hard to kind of comprehend and understand. And then I was fortunate enough, because I'm from Toronto, Canada, I was fortunate enough to find a new age bookstore and I went to this place and I sat there. I must have been there, no word of a lie, 4 hours. And I felt more connected than I have ever felt connected before in my life, and just started looking at books and looking at things that really connected to me, and just learning all about being psychic or a clairvoyant. Because for me, though I can see, I can also hear, I can also feel, and I can also talk to guardian angels, plus loved ones passed on. So I had this gift just open up like a powerhouse on every angle, and I was trying to manage all of that. So that's really when my journey started, and it took me a while to kind of learn and to get quiet and to meditate. And to be honest with you, I actually wanted to be a lawyer. And so, which is so logistical and practical. And then realized, I I had something bigger and greater to do with my life. And so I just started meditating. And to be honest with you, because I was so left brain, I would prove or test information that I would get on purpose to make it wrong. And then I started to realize that, wow, I've gotten this little voice in my head that says, oh, this is going to happen. And so I would, just wait for something to happen. And when it would manifest, I would be like, wow, this is really cool. Like I could really help people with this. So ultimately for me, the goal is to give people insight into areas of their life that they may not be objective with, they may not recognize, to help them heal, to help them resolve issues and understand what their full potential is. And I guess around 23, I quit my full-time job and I started doing this full-time, and I've been doing it ever since. So I've been doing it for quite a long time. It's been really awesome. I've been really blessed.
I love that, by the way. That was a great story. I love that. You wanted to be a lawyer? Yeah, that is amazing. It's so amazing how we have these gifts, and it just seems like, okay, a little bit about myself. I was a chef.
Okay.
And yeah, so I've always cooked since I was a kid. And when I got older, I just felt as though it wasn't something that I needed to do. It didn't feel like my path. And my gift started when I was 5, actually. And it didn't start off, it started as, I always tell people, it started off as a traumatic experience for me. And I know my audience have heard this many a time, so they probably like, oh, his story again, but I want to tell you.
Please.
So it started off when I was about 5 years old, and it was a spirit that lived in the house, but it was a spirit of a man, and he was an evil man. He wasn't nice. He wasn't nice. He wasn't nice even when he was alive. I had to do research on the house later on in my years and find out who that person was. And when he was alive, all he did was kind of torment children in the neighborhood.
Wow.
And so when he passed away, and he was an older gentleman, so I guess as he got older, he just started to be very mean. And as he passed away, he got stuck to the house. So I had to endure all these things that he wanted to do. And unfortunately, but fortunately, I had my sisters and my mom, and they were very supportive. They didn't judge me at all. They kind of knew that something was going on. They kind of knew that I wasn't crazy and I wasn't seeing these things, and they didn't, they wasn't going to say, oh, let's take him to the hospital because something is mentally wrong with him. They were just very, very supportive. And and my mom, I remember my mom telling me, she was like, if he's seeing something, then there's something there. My son is not crazy. And then, so when that traumatic experience happened to me, I ignored it for a long time. I got older and I just ignored these gifts. I'm very intuitive, so I used those intuitive gifts to my advantage on a lot of things, of course, work and school and stuff like that. But being a medium, I really ignored those gifts until I got older, and I was like, I'm tired of kind of ignoring these things. And I went to go see a Reiki healing. I had a Reiki healing, and the lady that was there, she grabbed me. She was like, there's something about you. I was like, what? She's like, did you know that you're a medium? I was like, oh yeah, I knew. I know. She was like, oh, okay. Some people don't know. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, well, you shouldn't hide your gifts. You should use them to your advantage and use them to help other people. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, kind of just brushed it over. But then I went on with my truth, and I started to do it.
Wow.
It's amazing. You said you were a lawyer. You've been a great lawyer for sure, because you probably can kind of know things as well, being intuitive. And same thing with yourself. You're saying that you can also see and you can hear and talk and speak to guides and answers. I can do the same thing, and that's what it's so amazing. I know some people who are mediums can only do one thing, either they're all seeing or hearing or knowing, but to have someone who's also can do all those things, it's amazing.
It
It helps me
really,
out. Helps me
yeah,
out in life, right? Especially if I
yeah,
have like a lot of loved ones that passed.
right.
It's still sad, of course, when they pass away. And people always ask me like, is it do you feel sad when your loved ones pass away? Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm a
of
human
course.
being.
Yes,
It's a very sad thing to happen. Do I feel as though they're always gone? No, because I can just go back and talk to them. But it's still sad to say that they're not living on this plane anymore. So
yeah, very true.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
People are, say that to me when my past as well. It's like, well, you can feel them, then maybe, you don't really miss them. And it's no, we miss them just as much. It's just that we have that ability to tune in, and everybody has the ability to tune in and talk to a loved one if we're receptive to it. And it still makes us sad. It's a very good point, artist, that regardless, the fact that they're not physically in here with us makes a huge difference, right? Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but there was a lot of years that I doubted, a lot of the things that I've heard and known, and then gotten proof. Like it's very easy when you're doing this work to fall into that world, but sometimes our own self-doubt can sometimes creep up. And the fact that I'd like to make a point that you had that support growing up is amazing, because that makes a huge difference. I didn't have that support until I was much older. When I was like about 23, 24, my mom worked for me because I was so busy that I couldn't handle it. And that's when she kind of came to the realization, like, oh my God, like my kid is really onto something here. And I've heard some feedback. But prior to that, there wasn't a lot of that. Though she believed in me as a person and she knew that it was my gig and it was my thing, knowing that you have that extra support creates more of that warm ability to bring in more. So, that's awesome that you got that kind of support.
Yeah, it is great. It is definitely great, and I don't think I was able to do it unless my family was there to support me and not judge me. Which is great. Which definitely is amazing. It's great that you had your mom work for you, though. It's like, hey, mom, I need your help. She's like, okay. I love it. I love it. It was something else that you mentioned, and I just had it in my head. So give me 1 second. Oh, you said you helped them help people heal from, maybe past trauma or current trauma that they're doing, and it's so crazy. I do the same thing, but I use it with their dreams.
Right.
So a lot of people, as you know, we dream a lot of things. Some things we don't even know what the dream is about, but there's always clues on there on why certain things happen in your dream. So I actually help them go through that. Like, let's go to your dream, and it's come naturally to me. It's because I am intuitive. So if someone tells me their dream, of course, I'm able to kind of pick apart your dream and see what's actually going on with your life now, or with their life that happened, later on in their years when they were younger, or whatever that's kind of haunting them now. And I tell people all this time, but the only reason I'm able to do that is because I'm intuitive. Like it's because I'm using my intuitive gifts in order to help me do this, and that's all I'm doing. I'm also using my ability to tap into people's energy in order to feel their emotions. Certain times, when people tell you things, they're very emotional. You can kind of feel it. It's somewhat heavy, right? It's when someone's telling you something and it's like weighing on them, you can feel it so deeply, and it makes me want to help them more, and it makes me want to actually fix that problem for them. This is because I can feel it deeply, right? I know that's the same for you, because I know you're an empath as well. So I know you get that feeling with your clients, and they might contact you about reaching out to somebody, and you kind of feel this responsibility that you need to settle this kind of pain that they have. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, a lot of times guardian angels kind of come through and will, like, as I'm preparing, because I always prepare like a good half hour to 40 minutes in meditation prior to reading a client. And I'll ask their masters and teachers or their guardian angels, okay, what does this person need to know? Where are they at? What is holding them back, blockage wise, limitation wise? How do I help them sort that out before we start moving on and talking in detail about what the future holds or the next couple months? It's not just about predicting what's going to happen for someone. It's where are you right now? What healing needs to go on? And how do we help you through that whole scope of what's blocking you to become who you need to be? And, it's amazing, artists, that you do that same kind of work, because you're absolutely right. I'm not judging any other readers, because there's a lot of amazing other readers out there. But there are readers that will specifically go just into future or just into, maybe Akashic records or whatever. And being able to have the diversity when you're reading someone to say, diversity is amazing. Where are you? What do you need? Where are you going? And how are you going to do this is so important. So I love the concept of you going into people's dreams. I actually am so thrilled, because I've never heard of that concept. Like, I would think that you would tap into more of their parallel lifetimes than what's happening right here in the conscious mind. I mean, a lot of our dreams do represent an aspect of release. So I love that you do that. And I think that's really cool, because I don't get the messages from that perspective. And this is what makes every reader so unique, and where their talents are that you bring out for other people. I think that's just awesome.
Yeah. So how it actually started with me is that I was always a big dreamer, and I've always had these like dreams when I was younger. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I just had these crazy dreams, and I was like, I got real tired of not knowing what they're about. And I started to think about it, deep into meditation. I was like, so this is the reason. So I didn't want to say I created a concept, but I dove into the concept of your subconscious mind is trying to tell you something, right? And your subconscious is trying to tell you that you need to heal, right? You need to heal. And it doesn't like that you're walking around and acting like everything is okay when things are not okay. Like, and I know I posted this. I think I posted this yesterday, and it was a little picture. I posted on my story, and it said, "Are you really healed, or are you trying not to think about it?"
Right. Right.
And there's a lot of people out here who are trying not to think about it. Like, so if you really want to be healed, you gotta go through the works. And I know you've probably talked to a lot of people who've come to you, and even some of my clients as well. When I talk to them, and you can tell if they really want to be healed, or they just want to go ahead and let this certain situation pass them over, and move on to the next. And I can feel that as soon as I start asking them questions, or I tell them to tell me about themselves or whatever I do. You can kind of feel that some people don't want to be healed. They just want to just put a Band-Aid over what's hurting them at this specific moment, and then move on to the next. It's like, well, I'll worry about that pain later on. It's like, right, let's fix this now, so we don't have to go back to do it later on. There's a lot of mediums that I know that use their gifts, and I think I've said this on the episode before, that use their gifts so great. Like, people who read cards, tarot readers, I think they're amazing.
Yep.
It blows my mind how they can read a card, and it can fit perfectly for that person. And my understanding is, what if they didn't pick up that card? What if they picked from the middle of the deck? Will that card still be there? Or, it's a lot of different things that a lot of people use their gifts on, that is amazing to help others. I mean, I know a medium. She actually, I'd never seen this before, but she takes her gifts, and she used her gifts as she personified her gift into an entity, which is insane. I've never seen this before. Stacey, listen to this. Wow. And I don't know what I forgot what she calls. I think she calls her Hilda or Van Hilda or something like that. And she basically takes her gift, personifies it into a being. And so whenever someone needs a reading, she goes talk to this being, which is only her gifts. And this being will tell her everything about that person. Wow. And I didn't believe it at first. I was on an app called Clubhouse. I don't know if you heard of it. And she's doing like these free readings for people. And I'm like kind of skeptical. I'm like, okay, I got to go up here and see what's going on. And she's like, be right back. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to talk to Van Hilda. She comes right back and she tells me 5 specific things that no one, and when I tell you no one would know unless someone had the gifts like us, right? So I knew that she was definitely legit. And I'm like, and she said, do these words mean something to you? And I was like, holy shit, excuse my language. It's amazing. And she does a lot of great work. She does it on Clubhouse, and she does it in, she doesn't charge people, and she does it in her own time. I think she's like, I think she said she's disabled, so she can't like drive or anything like that. She's like bound to a wheelchair, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't work and she stays at home or stuff like that. So, but she uses the time that she does have, the free time she does, to help people, which I think is it's amazing. She doesn't like use it for a business, which I think is amazing. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'd never seen that before in my life. Well, when I seen her, she was, a lot of people were going to her page, and I'm like, I gotta see what this is about, because I don't believe it, because I started watching her a couple of days. I just didn't believe it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. It's really easy. Yeah, go ahead.
So, she's like a conscious, like she's like a channeler. She's channeling in this beautiful spirit.
Basically. Yeah. It's I never had a reading as well with someone so spot on. I think that's what amazed me, because I've had other mediums talk to me and stuff like that, and do different readings, because people think that because you're a medium that you can't have any medium readings. That's not true. Like I've talked to different mediums and had readings before, many of times. I've never had someone that accurate before in my life, and it shocked me. It shocked me. I was stuck. I think I was like stuttering. I was like, I was stuttering because it was so amazing. I love it.
There's a lot of amazing readers out there.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, incredible.
Yes. So you said you're doing some coaching, or let's walk through, because I know you said you spend about 30 minutes meditating and get things ready. When a client reaches out to you about a reading, how does that setup go? And do you give them any instructions before, or days before, or something like that, or the day of you meeting them?
That's a really good question. Actually, I don't. What I usually do is they book an appointment. I give them all the sort of general details of, if you have any pictures of anyone that you want to know about, send them to me. I'll delete them for privacy reasons after. I let them know, we set up the time, whether that be Zoom or in person. And then basically when someone comes in, so the preparing, the 30 minutes is really getting into someone's energy, really connecting to their guardian angels, their master teachers that are with them every single day, and loved ones. Because to me, that's like a completely different source. I find for me that speaking to guardian angels or master teachers is really cool, but then it's like a separate energy. It's a separate entity talking to a loved one. It's like the guardian angels are, for me, there on behalf of the individual, letting them know what they got to work on, and then speaking to a loved one is more direct. So, I mean, I love both aspects because I think they're really important. It's just that I find that guardian angels tend to be a little bit more objective than loved ones, because loved ones, they have a connection to us. Like if you have a connection to someone, they're going to defend you, they're going to protect you, they're going to be a little bit more biased. And yet, your loved ones know us from a real personal level as well. So they know our traits and they know our goofiness. And so that dynamic is really cool. So most people come in, they sit down with me, and I just get started. I always ask, it's up to you. Do you want to kind of give me an idea of what things you want me to focus on? I'm going to go through each chapter of your life anyway. We're going to execute it from this point forward. I always start with where someone's at energetically, emotionally, what they got to work on first. And that's part of the coaching and I have clients that will specifically book half hours with me. Unfortunately, I don't offer them to new clients because there's just so much information that comes through a first time read. But once a client becomes a little bit more regular, I have clients that book with me every 2-3 months on a regular for the entire year. They set up their entire schedule for the year with me in order to just kind of be coached through whatever they're going through at the time. So it's like intuitive coaching is really what it is. It's not that I've taken a course in coaching, it's intuitive coaching. And I'm sure that you can relate to that yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with you when you said that you believe that the guides or spirit angels are different from the ancestors. Definitely. Right. I definitely agree with that. You definitely, just like you said, the guides are more straightforward. They're not really biased. They just like, hey, the duck is a duck. Okay, they don't really hold back anything. No. But your ancestors have a lot of emotion. They love you very dearly. Which your guides still love you as well, but not as deeply as somebody who's your ancestor. And they will kind of bounce around some things. They won't tell you the whole truth, and they just do it out of love because they're trying to protect that person. Which I definitely agree with that as well. Yeah, I mean, I've had many of my friends, their ancestors. I mean, some of them are just so rude. It's not even funny. It's so rude. They're so rude. They've been rude, when they were alive, and they're rude now in the afterlife. And it's just, and people were like, "Oh, aren't they nice?" I'm like, they're the same person as they were when they were alive. Were they a nice person when they were alive, or were they kind of strict, or were they just straightforward at you, or they're the same person and nothing different. Just because they passed on and they don't have that flesh anymore, they're still the same person.
It's really it's so funny. And I'm laughing. It's just I've had so loved ones come through from the other side that are like checking me out and scoping me out and feeling me out, and they're like, well, I kind of think this is a little bit of hocus pocus. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's no problem at all. You could just stay and observe. And I kid you not, every single time within the first 20 minutes, they're like taking over the session. They're yapping away, because then they feel that sense of love that we give off to them, to allow them a place of comfort to come in to that space should they choose to, right?
Right. It's that yapping is annoying. I don't think they understand. It's like I gotta focus on what I'm doing. Yeah. I gotta listen to my person that's in front of me, right? I also gotta listen to you in the background yapping over and over again. Oh my God. It's like, be quiet for just 1 second. Then they get an attitude that you tell them to stop, or just, hey, can you stop for 1 second? Can you be quiet? Or they get upset. I say, how can you get upset with me? And it just blows my mind. I had my friend, she was doing a video class, and I joined it, and her great grandmother, I think it's a great grandmother, right?
Yeah.
I think it's her great grandmother. I've spoken to her many of times and relayed message to her back and forth many of times. And she, at that moment, she was like bothering me the whole time to try to get me to tell her hi for her. Just like, oh, tell her I said hi. I'm like, okay, I'll tell her when she's done. She's like, no, tell her now. I'm like, I'm not going to tell her now because she's in the middle of something. I would tell her after. She's like, no, tell her right now. I'm like, okay. So I'd interrupt her to tell her that, hey, Ramona says hi. Your grandmother says hi. And she's like, oh yeah, okay, tell her I said hi. So she heard you. And I said, yeah, she keeps bothering me. And when I told my friend that she keeps bothering me, the ancestor got upset.
Right.
She got super upset that I said that. I'm like, why did you get upset? You were bothering me. Like, I just didn't understand. And she actually I haven't talked to her since then. I think she's She's definitely giving me the cold shoulder. That she probably talk to me when she needs something, but at this moment I haven't spoken to her since. And people don't realize when you and maybe you can also agree with this. They're very sensitive whenever they pass on. It's their triggers are very quick. Like they can get very upset or very sad in a drop of a dime, and you can say anything and it would just turn them off, right? And I know that you probably had many of stories of that happening with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely times where I'm reading someone and they'll be like interrupting me saying like, are you going to talk about me? Are you going to talk about me? Are you going to talk about me? And I'm like trying to get them in my mind's eye to be like, okay, shush, I need to get this message out. And then I will 100% focus completely on you. And then, you know, other souls on the other side are like, okay, so like, what's up? Let's go. Let's get this done. And I'm like, I promise you I'm going to get to you. And they do, they get agitated. And I find that a lot of souls, when they cross over, they have, in my experience, they have a lot of awareness of where they are, but that doesn't mean that they don't go through a grieving process of letting go of the physical world. And I think there is this image that you pass away and that you know where you are, you have this reality, you reunite immediately with your ancestors, and you're just like, bye-bye, see y'all later. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, our loved ones are with us all the time, right? They go through a grieving process just as us. And I'm a big believer, and I've experienced this so many times, so many countless times where, you know, unfortunately for me, I hate going to funerals like anybody, but that's because they talk to me. They'll sit beside me and they'll tell me everything about every single person that walks into that room while they're laughing. And I'm like, okay, this is like serious. Like, I can't be joking with you right now. We're at your funeral, you know? And so
right.
I'm sure it happened to you, right? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, so I was at one of my great aunts, my grandmother's sister, and I was at her funeral, and everybody's sad, everybody's crying, and this is when the time where I kind of was blowing off my gifts when I was telling you about. I was in my teenage year. I was blowing off my gifts, and then I remember there was a picture that they had up of her on this stand. And when she was alive, she told her daughter, she said, I hate this photo. But everybody loved this photo. It's a great photo. But she said, I cannot stand this photo. This photo I look terrible. I hate this photo. But it was a beautiful photo. Right. So they took that photo and they put it on the stand. And there was no wind. We're outside, but there was no wind. The photo, she keeps knocking the photo off of the stand. And it's a huge poster. She keeps knocking it over. Right. And they have to keep putting the photo back on. Right. And so I kind of ignored that. I didn't really look over. I was like, okay, whatever. And then to a time where the last time she knocked it over, and I looked over and it was her standing there. She looks directly at me and she puts her hand on her lips like, shh, don't tell them I'm here. Type like, just shush me up. And so they had to get duct tape out of one of my aunt's car to put duct tape around it. And so she couldn't knock it off. So yeah, I've been to many of so during that time it was very different, right to go to a funeral, which I'm like you, I hate funerals. I cannot go to another funeral in my life. I've refused to do it. Like, I just can't do it. It's too much for me, and it's a lot. So yeah, to have them come and talk to you or mess around, it's really it makes it a fun story. It does make a fun story. It makes it a little better because you're kind of supposed to be in this, you're in a sad state, and it kind of makes you feel better, but it's still kind of nerve-wracking for sure. I mean, I've had situations where if you're out, I don't know if you, of course you have, if you're out doing something, and then your ancestor or whatever that wants to come talk to you during a time where you're busy or you're at work or something like that, which it's super annoying. I've been at work and I work in sales on my day job, and if I'm in front of these customers trying to present this product and trying to get them to buy this product and try to have them spend all this money on me to buy these products, and it's kind of hard to do that if I have my grandmother in my head telling me some stuff that old memories that she had, or stuff that my mom did when she was a baby or when she was a child and stuff like that. I'm like, I need you to kind of just leave me alone for a minute. And it's hard to say that because, like you said, they're very emotional, and you kind of don't want to hurt their feelings. So it's hard to try to swing around that rope a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you ever find that when you're with your clients, or even with your customers, that their loved ones come through?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, definitely. If I'm with my day job, I don't mention it to them, of course. Absolutely, it happens a lot. They were even to a point where they're come through, and as clairvoyant, they just show me an image or send me information about them, and then I will actually just bring it up, and that would help me doing my job, really, because I'm like, oh, you're into this, you look like a person that likes this, and they're like, how did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just had a feeling, because I also like that, or it helps me out a lot, for sure. Absolutely.
There was a time that I was at a funeral, and unfortunately, and I didn't really know the people well, and I had gone with my ex-husband to pay our respects to a coworker that he had, and I'm out in the hallway, and I'm kind of standing there, and all of a sudden, this gentleman walks by me, the spirit, and he sees me, and I'm just like, oh God, he's gonna come and talk to me. And he comes up to me and he said, and I'm kind of like standing in an area where there's like 4 different funeral rooms, and it's the viewing, and I knew this was going to happen. I just had a feeling, and this is why I don't like going to them. And he comes up to me and he goes, I know that you can see me. So now I'm talking to him in my head. I'm like, what, and he tells me his name, and he says, you see that first door? And I was like, yeah. He's like, my wife's in there. He's like, and she's going to come out in the next 10 minutes. He's like, you need to tell her she's got to go to the bathroom, and she's going to tell you, she's going to say hi, and she's going to look at you, and she's going to feel this connection. You have to tell her that I said hi and that I'm with her. And I was like, oh hell, no. This is inappropriate. I don't even know her. And I kid you not, artist, she looked at me, and for whatever reason, she stood in front of me, and she's like, somehow you seem familiar, but I'm pretty sure I don't know you. And she had asked me if I was there as like her guest on behalf of her husband. And I said, no, but is your husband's name John? And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, did you know him from work or blah? And I was like, no. I said, I am so sorry to do this. And he's telling me, he's standing there and he's looking at me like a kid in a candy store. He's like, tell her. Oh my gosh, please don't do this to me right now. And I'm very cautious about telling people things like that, as you are, whether that be at work or, in your day job and stuff, because you just don't know how people are going to receive it, right? Like, we always like to think that they're going to be encouraged to hear that type of news, but I don't ever overstep on people. So, and I told her, I said, he's actually here, and this is what he said, and this is what I do for a living. And instead of her breaking down into 1,000 pieces, because I'm like, I am killing this woman, emotionally, as she's standing here at her husband's viewing, she looked at me with tears in her eyes, and she said, I knew it. She said, and you just gave me the greatest confirmation that I've ever had in my life. It was so sweet. She gave me a hug, and, I gave my condolences. And then in the interim, my ex-husband walks out and goes, of course. And I'm like, well, this is why I told you I don't like coming to these things.
That's amazing. Wow. That is so great. And I think I've posted this before, and it was like 2 guys staring at each other, and I was like, when a spirit realizes that you're a medium, they just like you said, I know you can see me. And they don't have any concept of personal space. They would get up right up on your face and tell you that I can tell that you can see me. Like, I can feel it. And it's like such an annoying thing a little bit. And you kind of
it is, what's really annoying when you're at like a restaurant or somewhere that might be like a building or structure, and there's ghost energy there. Mm-hmm. I've had those activities, of course, a different aspect, because those are earthbound souls who will literally walk into the bathroom stall. And I'm like, oh, this is completely inappropriate. And they're like, don't worry, I can't see you anyway, so it's all good. But I need to ask you a question right now. I'm like, oh no, this is inappropriate. So have you ever had any of those experiences where you've gone and visited a place?
So so I was at a restaurant, and it was weird, and it was a lady in the back of the restaurant in a booth, but she was just sitting there, but she was eating. But she wasn't there. She wasn't that. I can tell that it was a ghost. There was like there was no one that came up to our table to greet her, and she's eating, but it was, I can tell for sure, like that's not, you can feel it, right? You know these things. It's like, yeah, that's not a real person. And I never knew that they can actually do that. They can constantly, like, that's the first time I've ever seen them eat food, which was very unsettling to me, because I'm like, the food is not really there. So how is it being manifested that I'm watching this lady pick up the fork and eat the food, and it's like I can see the movement of the chewing, and it was just very weird. So I've been to a restaurant that happened. I've been to people's houses where people don't know that they have like this entity in their house, and I'm like, you have a spirit and your ghost in your house, like you didn't know that? They're like, yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, you didn't know. Growing up as my friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, in the condo where him and his family lived, they had he was a child. He had to be like 8 years old, and I don't know what. I didn't ask him any questions or anything like that, but he liked to play around, like he likes to play because he was a child. So when you walk up the stairs in the condo, he would follow behind you, like, and act like he's chasing you, type of thing. And I'm like, what is this thing? You know, I kept feeling like, what is this thing behind me? And then when I kind of finally tapped in, I would like, he's playing around. And so what I would do is I would go up the stairs, he would follow behind me, and then when I turned around, he would run back down the stairs, and he would just giggle. He would laugh like a child. Like this is a game for him. Like he wants you to chase him now. You know, he's chased you up the stairs, you chase him down the stairs, type of thing. So yeah, I've been in many of people's homes, a lot of people's homes, really. And I've been walking past like I do a lot of hiking.
Yes.
And there's always like abandoned buildings, a lot of like abandoned houses or abandoned buildings. And I've walked past abandoned building, and I was like, that has a lot of activity inside that building. I'm not going inside of there. Absolutely not. And I've been like, no, this is abandoned building. Let's go in here. I'm like, I'm not going in there. You can go in there if you want to, but I'm not. I told some people that I'm going hiking with. Like I refuse to go in these buildings or anything like that. I don't want to start up a conversation. I don't want to start this whole, because it's hard to get away. Once they start this conversation with you, it's kind of hard to get them to leave, and it's difficult to try to get them to push them away nicely as well, because like I said, you don't want to hurt their feelings, because they're very on edge. Like a little thing would cause them to be upset. So I always tell people, like, you can talk to entities and spirits if you want to, but always make yourself safe. Make sure you know how to get away from situations like that, because you can talk to one and who wants to talk to you for hours. They don't want to leave, and you can tell them, okay, I have to go. Then, oh no, you can stay here for a little longer. And I'm like, okay, no, I have to go now. And it's difficult. Do you find it difficult? Well, I'm not gonna say this difficult. Have you ever had a situation where, if you're doing a reading for someone, and of course you're connecting to their energy, you connecting to their spirit team's energy, and have you ever had a situation where you didn't disconnect from the energy fully? Because I know that happened to me recently, maybe like 6-7 months ago, and I just couldn't disconnect from the energy. So for a week or two, I was always feeling this person's energy and their spirits, their ancestors' energy constantly, and it start to make it hard for me to figure out the difference between my own energy versus theirs. Have that ever happened to you, or do you find it difficult to disconnect?
That's a really good question. So for me, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's not like it's never happened. I would say probably depending on someone's trauma and what they're going through. It's a little bit of sad news, but I had a client recently who just lost her child that was 2 years old and extremely healthy. It was unfortunately accidental. And so her energy stayed with me because I think I felt as a mother myself, like a lot of that trauma of what that would be like. So it took me, a couple days or a few days of like asking my guardian angels to disconnect from her energy because of my compassion. But usually within a few hours, I find the difference for me is when someone is maybe, like we were talking about this earlier, artist, about sometimes clients want you to tell them what it is they want to hear rather than diving deep into what those issues are. And one thing that I do in my readings is integrity is number one. I will find a kind way to tell you that there's some, like you said, pardon the expression, shit going on in your life that you have no choice but to deal with because this is going to be the end result. And I know that sometimes clients get upset with me, even though I'm very gentle and I do get the message across, and I always do a ritual prior. So when I'm meditating, I do a ritual to bring that person's energy in, their masters and teachers, to do it with love and kindness. And then I also do another ritual to close off that energy every time a reading is over. The thing is that certain people, if they're mad at you, like I find that my biggest bone of contention is that I feel others staying connected to my energy and trying to drain my energy, my vibration, or just not letting it go. Or people will say to me, Stacey, you said. And it's like, listen, you guys have choices. Everything is free will. So I find that for me, that's a little bit more difficult rather than letting a client's energy go. It's the opposite. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think what you said definitely, I didn't realize this at first because, like you said, with your client, unfortunately, her child passed away, and you kind of felt that connection. I think that was it. Me and his client had a connection that I just felt so deeply saddened for this client, this person. I'm like, wow. And so I don't know if it was me not trying to let go, or it was hard for me to let go of the energy, or was it my client that was clinging on to me? Because the client was like, afterwards, that client was always contacting me about a lot of things, and also her spirit team as well was contacting me as well. They were show up in my dreams, which I usually don't have. I don't have dreams about people always ask me, oh, did you have a dream about my ancestors? No, they can just come talk to me anytime. They won't come up in my dream. But this time, this particular person's ancestors did, to tell me a lot of different stuff about, her family, her deep down, who she is deep down, and a lot of problems she had in her life. So it was always coming up. So it felt me to a point where I just like, we should stop communicating for a while now until I'm able to kind of disconnect from like what you're going through. I'm happy to help. And then once it's over and I helped you, let's disconnect, because I'm finding it hard for me to get back to my own reality, which I only have my own life as well. And I can't be focused completely solely on yours for sure. That was, yes, I didn't even thought about it like that. So thank you for saying that. Cause I was like, why do this never happened to me before? Why can I, disconnect? And I guess cause I felt so, deep, with her story and what was going on and trauma and things of that. And I just felt, saddened by it. So I guess that what it was. So
Yeah, I think it's really hard sometimes that we come across people on our path that I'm just so blessed. I have such an array of clients, and sometimes you can't help but connect or feel that compassion. And I think sometimes we can go a little deeper than we really want to go. And I think that makes it harder for us to disconnect, whether it be on our side or their side. And an artist, to make a point that you had said, it's very difficult sometimes for clients will sometimes look at us which is not okay, I guess, in my books. I understand it, but where we're like their savior. They're seeing us helping them progress, and they do sometimes connect deeper to us, and then they end up becoming reliable. Like being an empath, being a clairvoyant, being a medium, there's a big responsibility if you're going to use this from a place of integrity. And I'll tell you, I truly, truly am blessed, and I really love the fact that I can do this for people. But I got to be honest with you, if someone told me at 23 what I know now in my 50s, there's no way I would have taken on all this responsibility, because it's a lot. And for us guys, we take it, for those readers that work for them in that place of integrity, it's a lot of pressure. It's amazing. We love that we're helping and we're making a difference. But when people start relying on us, and they say, you said, it's like, okay, but what do you think? And bringing that in back to them, right?
yes, absolutely. Like they feel, I understand their point. I understand where they're coming from, where they feel they have to rely on us to kind of walk them through everything. But I'm like, all I did was open a door for you. You kind of have to walk through yourself. And I'm okay with talking, outside, if you got my Instagram or whatever like that, or my number, I'm okay with talking from time to time. But to have it keep going on for a long time, I think there's where times like you have to kind of fly yourself.
Yes.
You're either going to walk through that door or you're going to go ahead and close it, right? And then you're going to be at the same boat. Like, I can't hold your hand through the door. All I can do is open it and say, go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's
complicated.
It's super complicated. It's super complicated. And they're I want to say they're high emotion.
Right.
And so since they're on a high emotion, they kind of need that person there. And like we said, we're happy to do it. I'm thankful. And I think it's same thing if you to tell if you would tell me my 5-year-old self this is what I'll be doing now on my spare time, I would say hell no. There's no way. Right? There's no way you're going to get me to do that. I'm really not going to do it, right? But I'm happy what we're doing now. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, and I don't want to talk ill, but there's a lot of people out there who are mediums and intuitive people who use their gifts in order just to receive some form of payment for somebody, and that's it. They don't see it as some type of connection. So it's good to find people like ourselves who gets truly invested into the client and actually truly want to see their success, because if we didn't, we just like, okay, here's my price. If Stacey was like, okay, I don't care about that, I'm just going to talk, all I care about is my price. Here's the price, and let's talk about here and now, and let's just fix this moment. And you want to talk about something that happened to you later on in your years, when you were younger, you're going to pay for that session. Right? Yes, if not, she wants to see you succeed from the first time. That's why she's like, let's talk about it entirely this time. Let's not wait. So that's why she does it.
Do you find that I know this has happened where clients will get in touch with me and say, oh, okay, so what do you charge for your mediumship? Oh, what do you charge for this aspect? What do you charge for that aspect? And at first I was really confused. I'm like, I don't understand these questions. Like, I charge one fee for my readings in its totality. So you're absolutely right. Like, there are, and it's sad, because it's those type of readers that are giving us guys that really come from a pure place, that bad rap. And I got one price. That's what I charge. If I have another service, then I'll definitely charge another price. And I also do something that I kind of created, is called the lighthouse effect. And what that means is, if you're starting a new business, or if you're moving your home, or, you just want like a freshener in your place, I'll go in physically and cleanse the space for you, tell you exactly what's gone on there, where you need to place things, how they need to change in order to get collectively that energy. But that's a different price, because then I'm traveling to your space. There's a flat fee for that, depending on the amount of time, and that's it. So when I hear people coming to me going, "Oh my God, I just got charged, $1,000 for someone to do a cleanse," I'm like, "Well, what do they normally charge?" They're like $200. I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't think that's honest and fair." And so it gives us guys that bad reputation. I agree. Like, when you take from source and you have that integrity, you stick to that integrity. And at first, when it happened again, I was really confused. I was like, I don't understand why they're asking me about different fees. Like, I have one fee. I do my best from beginning to end, and that's it. So have you found that?
Yeah, I've actually I actually reached out to a medium because I felt as though something was amiss. Something was going on with this person.
Yep.
And so I reached out to this person on Instagram, and I'm like, "Hey, can I get a reading?" And she sent me like this list of things that she does with different prices. And it was just like, it could range from like a 15-minute call for like $50 to like $2,000. And it's like, what is this scale?
Yeah.
An hour call is almost $2,000.
Wow.
And what are you doing on a phone call? It's not even a video. If you wanted to do a video, it would be more money.
Right.
So like, you want to do an hour phone call for $2,000, which is, it's insane. I've actually had, I was doing some reading, some dream interpretation for somebody who reached out to me, and I always tell them to send me a voice message of their dream, because I can do it live, but some people are busy and stuff like that. So I was like, if you want, you could just send me a voice message, and I can kind of tap into your energy from listening to your voice.
Right.
So as I'm doing that person's ancestor, I don't know who this person was, reached out to me to tell me to leave them alone. Upset. And I realized the only way that can happen is that person probably reached out to many other people who do readings.
Right.
And that person maybe took advantage of them. So that person's ancestor did not like that. It's like, stay away from my loved one. So that ancestor was just like, leave her alone. She doesn't need your help. Like, straightforward.
Wow.
And I'm like, why would you act like that? Why are you this rude? I don't even know you. Like, why are you this rude? And I just had to realize it's because that person told me later on. That person's like, yeah, I've reached out to, I've had multiple readings and done this stuff, because that person was trying to kind of get obsessed with paying different mediums to do readings for her to get this specific answer that she wanted. She wanted something. She has a question. She already created the answer for it, and she was waiting for one of us to say that same answer that she already created in her head. It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking for this certain answer. It's not going to be that. It's never going to be this. You're looking for a solution that you created for this problem that you have, but you got to kind of let it go with the flow. So, and so she paid all this money to reach out to different mediums, and it was just hard on her team, her spirit team. It was just hard on her spirit team to sit back and because she couldn't contact them. They couldn't contact her. She didn't know how to contact them, so they had basically, her spirit guide and her ancestors had to sit back and watch her go through all this trial and tribulation, I guess, different mediums to get the same answer. And she paid a lot of money for it, unfortunately. Wow. And people, to give people more perspective, I recently started charging people for doing my dream interpretations and stuff, like my readings. I didn't charge people for a while. Like, I was doing it for free, Stacey.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I was doing it for free. I was doing it just because I'm okay with helping people. Like, and the
Yeah,
only reason why I started charging, sometimes I don't charge people. Sometimes I just like, okay, I do it. Like my friends, okay, yeah, I do it. Okay, no
right.
problem, right? And one of my friends is like, she's a coach, and she's like, you need to start charging for your time. I'm like,
Right.
nah, it's okay. And she's like, no, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You're charging for your time, right? There's some people out here who are charging a lot of money for their time, and you're doing it at the graces of your heart because she's, I love that you're doing it for free. I love that you're doing it to help people, but you need to charge for your time, which is understandable for sure, for sure. So just the people understand that we're not just, me and Stacey are not just doing this just to get money. We're doing it also to truly deep down is to help people for sure, for sure.
And artists, the thing is for some of us, I wanted to do this from the heart, but I knew if I really wanted this to work, that I would have to charge and and remember, this is all energy. Money is just energy as everything else is. So there should always be some type of exchange, even if you're doing, exchanging, for goodness sake, eggs or a brunch. I've always charged since the beginning of my career, and even though it is my life career, but there's definitely been exuberant amount of times where if I'm talking to a client and I genuinely know that their financial situation is not good, I'll give them an extra half hour, or I've, given them, a half an hour here or there, because for me to be able to provide these services, I also need to live. I'm a single mom, blessed. I have a home, which not a lot of, people do, that I own. And so in order to continue being able to function, and this is my full-time job, I've been doing this full-time since I was 23 years old. There is, and I've raised my rate over, the years, but I've always given to those in need. And I think that's really what the point is, because money, energy is just an exchange like everything else. You cannot, and don't get me wrong, things sometimes in life should be free. And when for it's someone who's genuine and someone who really could benefit without being taken advantage of, and we're empathic, so we can kind of tune into who that is and who needs what and offer that. But I love the idea that, you had the opportunity to do some of that work for free. I mean, I'm always doing freebies as best as I can here or there, but it's also a job that people need to understand that though we want to help people, this is extremely exhausting work.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's super exhausting. Yeah. I don't think people really understand that. It takes a lot of energy in order to do this, a lot. And that's where, Stacey, you probably do the same. I daily meditate at least twice a day, sometimes 3. I'm always keeping my energy up. It's because just in case someone reaches out to me, I got to be able to have that energy stored in order to help you out, right? So.
And the other reason that you go out into these beautiful, you're a hiker, and we do these kind of things. Like I love people. I love being around people. I'm extremely social, but I am more of a homebody. I don't go to big parties. I don't go to big crowds. And when I do, I got to soup up the energy for it, because I am picking up on so many different people's vibration that we do need a place that we can rejuvenate and we can feel connected in order to fuel us, because when we give it 100%.
Oh yes, I'm the same way. I'm not a big party guy. Like if I go to a crowd of people, I'm there for 20-30 minutes and I'm ready to go home. Like it's so exhausting. You're tapped into everyone's energy at the party, and we have abilities to block them off, but it's so many people, it's hard to do that a lot. Especially if you're talking to somebody and stuff like that. It's super exhausting. So going to a party or large crowds of people, I'm kind of hesitant. I'd rather just sit at home or go on a hike where I'm just around a bunch of nature and I'm like with my dogs, or I'm just like have music playing in my ears, or I'm just listening to nature, move on, right? Because you can definitely recharge by doing that. And that's how I recharge. That's why I have I'm a plant guy. So I have a bunch of plants and I grow a lot of stuff in my backyard. And I don't have a huge backyard. It's very, very small, but I'm growing a bunch of stuff where I constantly want to get closer to nature as much as possible because, if you get close to nature, you kind of understand how life is about, right? So nature's moving regardless of anything, without any emotion, without anything. It's just flowing. And I think if you tap into that, you kind of get an understanding what life is about. So, did anything else that you want to point out there?
I just think this is so awesome that we're talking.
I just think this is so awesome that we're talking and we're relating because, like you, it's not often that I get the privilege of speaking with another reader. And again, I'm so thankful for this because it's so nice to have this collaboration where we're kind of sharing our thoughts and we're kind of, having similar experiences and how vast the world is and how much we want to help and, how parallel, things are when things are in balance. It's just really cool to have connected today and to just talk, really cool shop and kind of get your frame of perspective and mine and kind of be like, oh, wow, I'm not the only one that feels that way or goes through this or experiences this and that. So I don't think there's so much to add as much as I'm just so appreciative for your time. And I hope that, for people who are listening, they tap into, behind the scenes of, wow, like it takes a lot of work for someone. And it's like any job, right? Anything that you are passionate about, you're going to put your fire into, but it also can be exhausting no matter how much of it you do. So it's just really cool to be able to connect with you and kind of, pick your brain a little bit, see your perspective, how you do things, and then, share that information. Cause I don't think this is a lot of stuff that
they don't. And I appreciate you for joining me. Yeah. Like I said, you're the first medium that I'm having on here. So it's great to go back and forth and talk about someone who can relate with me. So I definitely love this episode for sure.
Awesome.
It is. So at the end, I always tell everybody to plug in their information there. If you got a website, if you have an Instagram, it's unlimited plug. You can say anything you want. Put your Instagram, put your website, put everything you want in there. And I also would put that at the end in the description box as well. So go ahead and spit it out. Hello?
Sorry, I got a bit confused.
Can you say that again?
Sorry?
Say that again?
Sorry? I got a little confused there. I got a little confused there.
No, go ahead and spill it. I'm sorry, spill it. Go ahead and talk about your Instagram, talk about everything.
My apologies. So I had a brain fart there. So it's Stacey Agouros, and my Instagram page is Stacey Agouros Intuitive, and my email address, because I'm in Canada, is sagouros@rogers.com, and that'll connect you to my website. And that is staceyagouros.com. I would love to hear from anybody who wants that assistance.
Thank you for that.
Awesome. And you help.
Thank you for that.
I know you probably have clients all around the world. So she's in Canada, so that is Eastern time, right? So
Eastern Standard
Time. So everybody keep in mind that if you want to book something for her, make sure that that if you're on the other side of the world, then you got to prepare at that time. She's not going to do reading for you if it's like 3 a.m. her time. She's probably asleep.
That's right.
So
that's right. We work it out.
Yeah, we work something out.
We work it out.
So thank you, Stacey. I appreciate you. I love this conversation, and I definitely will have you again on another episode later on for sure. And I appreciate you again. I know your time is limited, so thank you for having me. Well, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming on this podcast for me and telling us your great, amazing story. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely, we will. Okay, guys. Until next time. Peace.